Testing.
Testing.
Here's the link to the stream. I'm going to give 1 more minute so more people will join, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's get it started. This is the final review stream for Algebra 1. This will work for both academic, which is period 4, and CP, which is period 10. You have a lot of the same type of questions, so I want to just do them both at the same time. With that in mind, we're going to do solving linear systems. This is when we have two equations and we're trying to find two answers. So let's see what we could do. So first off, we have y equals 3x plus 2 and x plus 2y equals 11. In 6.2, they suggest using the substitution method. So what we're going to do is say this y over here, I'm going to replace this y over here with this whole thing, 3x plus 2. So let's see how that turns out to look like. That's x plus 2, parenthesis, 3x plus 2, close parenthesis, equals 11. Well, now I have to distribute the 2 to everything. That's x plus 2, 2 times 3x is going to be 6x. Plus 2 times 2 is going to be 4, equals 11. x plus 6x is 7x plus 4 equals 11. And along with that, we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. Subtract 4 on both sides. 7x equals 11 minus 4 is 7. Divided by 7, divided by 7. X equals 1. Now, in these questions, we have to try to get two answers. Not just x, but we need y also. So I'm going to plug it into the one that I think is easier. I think the top one is easier, so I'm going to choose that one. So y equals 3. Now I know what my x is, so I'm going to replace that with a 1 plus 2. I got this equation from this equation over here. Y equals 3 plus 2. Y equals 5. So the answer for this one is 1 comma 5. The basic premise of this is you're trying to find two answers. And you could do this one by using substitution. Now let's try a 6.3 problem, which is elimination. So 2x plus 3y equals 11. Negative 2x plus 5y equals 11. Equals 13. I apologize. So for this one, what we want to do is to be able to solve for both x and y. What's special about this one is the x's are the same exact number. So instead of substituting, what we're going to do instead is going to subtract or add them, whatever makes it disappear. So this is a positive 2 and this is a negative 2. So what makes them disappear would be adding them, because 2 plus negative 2 is going to become 0x plus 8y equals, I did 2 plus 5 to get 8y, and 11 plus 13 to get 24. Now here we're going to have 8y equals 24 divided by 8 divided by 8. Y equals 3. Again, we're not done. We have to plug it into the easiest equation from the original ones. And I feel like the easiest one is the top one, because this is only 3, and this has to have a negative. So let's handle the top one. So that's going to be 2x plus 3. We have a y. I'm going to replace that with 3 equals 11. 2x plus 9 equals 11. Subtract 9 on both sides. 2x equals 2. And then we're going to divide 2 on both sides. X equals 1. So your final answer for this one is 1 comma 3. That pretty much summarizes what you should know for the finals in 6.3. Or chapter 6, I should say, in general. One other thing, and I'm going to skip to 6.5 here. And anyone who's watching right now, can you type in, tell me if it's able to, like, can you see it clearly? And can you hear me clearly? I need to make sure, so I'm not just wasting time. Can you see the paper clearly? And can you hear me clearly? Oh, well. Thanks, Gabe. All right. Sorry for the phone in the background. So 6.5, solve special types. So there's two special types. One is when you have something like this. Yeah, that's fine. 3x plus 5y equals 2. Notice these two are exactly the same on top and bottom. Because they're exactly the same on top or bottom, that means these two lines are exactly the same. And if these two lines are exactly the same, we just don't have one solution. We have all solutions. Another way to say that is all reals. Another special type, 3x plus 5y equals 2. 3x plus 5y equals 1. Now let's use our elimination technique by subtracting. So 3x minus 3x is 0, plus 5 minus 5 is 0, equals 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 equals 1. Well, that's not true, actually. So we're going to cross a line there. 0 does not equal 1, and that makes it a no solution. So while here, if they turn out to be the same thing, is all solutions, here, if they have something that's unequal, it's no solution. There's no variable here to change this, so it's automatically a no solution. That's the basis of chapter 6, and I only suspect as much as I want you to know for that. Oh, we did forget something, actually. 6.6, the inequality thing. So 6.6, inequality thing. For this one, I probably would give you a multiple choice question that kind of looks like this. You will get like a picture of a graph. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say you get some line like this. And you get a line like this. And I'll shade it in for you. So I'll shade it this way and this way. So this is the shaded area. My multiple choice question here would be something along lines, which point is inside the shaded area? So I might say something along the line. All right. So for this one, let's continue back at it. It got frozen, but we're back here. So one of these options is going to work for this. So that's 6.6. Basically, you're telling me where it hits the shaded area. So one of my favorite subjects, 7.17, chapter 7, which is the exponent stuff. A lot of you guys did well on this test, so I'm not too afraid for you guys on this one. So for exponents, when you have exponent 3 and times the same base, you can add the two exponents. So x to the third times x to the fourth equals x to the seventh. If you divide them, they subtract. So x to the 10th divided by x to the third would give you x to the 7th. Now, if you have a negative exponent, so x to the negative 4th power, in order to make it positive, you have to turn it into a reciprocal. So this is x to the negative 4th power over 1. That means it's going to go down because it's on top. So that's going to be 1 over x to the positive 4. That's how you change exponents into positives. Also, when you do x to the 3rd power raised to the 5th power, you multiply these two. So 3 times 5, that's x to the 15th power. So in terms of exponent rules, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. I don't want to spend too much time with that. I'm just going to flip through to see any particular questions you should be prepared for. Maybe something like this. Like, this is like 7.2 plus, so plus 7.2. So something like 8a to the 3rd over 4a to the 2nd. Well, we do the normal numbers normally. So 8 divided by 4 is going to be 2. A to the 3rd divided by a to the 2nd, you subtract the exponents. So 3 minus 2 is going to be a to the 1st power. Because it's to the 1st power, we don't really write anything. Let's do 6 x to the third power, y to the second power, all to the second power. For this one, you distribute the exponent like an exponent to everything. So 6 to the second power is going to be 36 times x to the third power to the second power. Then you're going to multiply the exponents. That's x to the sixth power. And y to the second power times the second power is y to the fourth power. So this should help you out with the stream, or with the exponents. Again, I'm not too worried. A lot of people did well on it. Oh, and don't forget, this is going to be a free question, so please don't forget this. X to the 0 power equals 1. 10 to the 0 power equals 1. 1 million, or I'll just go, 1 million to the 0 power equals 1. Anything to the 0 power always equals 1. Don't forget that. That's going to be a free question, honestly. Let me check something. I just want to see if this is valuable or this is necessary. Right now I'm just checking if I'm going to ask you these type of questions. I don't think I went to 7.4. Oh no, we definitely did exponential decay, and that's supposed to go. So let me see. There's sometimes we're going to simplify expressions, like 4u2v5 times 3u to the negative fourth v to the third power. So we're going to multiply normally. So 4 times 3 is going to be 12. U to the second times u to the fourth is going to be u to the negative second, because you add those. V to the fifth times v to the third, you add them again, is v to the eighth. Now it's very important to notice, u to the negative second power is a negative power, so I'm going to write my options like this. V12, v to the 8 over u to the second power. So make sure you're able to do those exponential problems. And simplify a bunch of combinations of them. All right. Next one, chapter 8, polynomials, 8.1. Polynomials, so either you add polynomials or subtract polynomials. We multiply polynomials. So first let's add and subtract. This is one of those things where we have to use the last names or common factors. For example, let's say 3x squared plus 6 plus sign 2x squared plus 5x. Let's combine all the like terms. Now, 3x squared, I'm going to give it a 1 underline. Anyone matches here? Well, it happens to match with 2x squared over here. So I'm going to give it a 1 underline. So 3x squared plus 2x squared, when you add them together, is going to be 5x squared. Nothing happens to the last name. It just add the numbers in front. So 3 plus 2 is going to give you 5x squared. Now let me underline this. Double underline because this is my second term. Just 6, no last name. Well, this has a last name. It has x. So that doesn't match. So since 6 is by itself, I'm just going to rewrite 6. And then let me rewrite this one. 3 underlines. Everyone's already underlined. Everyone's already taken. So it's alone 5x. Typically, I rewrite the answers in descending order of the power. So 5x squared plus 5x plus 6. Both of these answers are correct. Know that these are the same thing to each other. 8 point, let's do a subtraction one before I go, actually. 10x to the third plus 2x to the second minus 5x minus 3x to the third minus 4x squared plus 2x. So 10x to the third minus 3x to the third is going to be 7x to the third. So this one goes with this one. So I do 10 minus 3. That gives me 7x to the third. So I'm double underlining this guy. 2x to the second. Well, that goes with negative 4x to the second. So 2 minus negative 4. 2 minus negative 4. That's going to give me 6. So that's going to be a positive 6x squared. Let's check the next one. Triple underline. Negative 5x goes with this guy. 2x. Well, negative 5 minus 2 is going to give me negative 7. So I'm going to write negative 7x. And that's my answer over there. Make sure you can add. Make sure you can subtract. We also need to multiply. Multiplying should be familiar to what you know is foiling. But first, let's just do a basic distribution one. This is 8.3. So 2x, and I'll put the parentheses out here, 4x plus 3. So we're just going to distribute. When you distribute, everyone meets everyone else. So 2x plus 4x equals 8x. And 2x times, I'm sorry, this is times. So 2x times 4x is going to be 8x squared. Don't forget the square because x times x, that's 2x's in total now. 2x plus 3 is going to be 6x. There's only one x here because this brought an x, but this guy didn't. So it's just 1x or 6x to the 1 power. You are done there. Another thing is the foiling kind of situation. So 2x plus 5, 3x minus 2. So foiling, what it stands for is front, outer, inner, last. So let's do the front guys first. That is 2x and 3x. 2x times 3x equals 6x squared. Let's do the outside guys, which is out here. 2x times negative 2 equals negative 4x. Let's do the inside guys, which is here. 5 times 3x equals 15x. And let's do the last guys over here. 5 times negative 2 equals negative 10. So with that in mind, we have 6x squared minus 4x plus 15x minus 10. So I'm going to write that all in one line. So with that in mind, let's see if we can combine any like terms. Negative 4x and 15. This is 6x squared. That stays normal because it has no friends. And this guy stays normal because he has no friends. So 6x squared and negative 10. Negative 4 plus 15 is going to give you positive 11. So positive 11x. Your final answer, when given as a multiple choice, will always look like this. Not like this, where it's not simplified yet. It will look like the simplified answer. I'm just looking at the current final just to see if I'm doing anything I could do to help out. We did distribution, we did foiling, we did adding. One thing to remember is when we have something like this, 3x plus 4 squared. Now before I said you could distribute the square, but that does not apply if there's a plus sign or a minus sign in the middle. It does not work like that if there's a plus sign or a minus sign in the middle. So what we have to do is rewrite this as 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4. And then we're forced to FOIL. We just went foiling over here. I'm going to do it one more time. Front, let me write these out. Front, outer, inner, last. 3x times 3x, that's going to be 9x squared. 3x times 4, that's going to be 3x times 4, that is going to be 12x. Inside ones, inners, 4 times 3x, that's going to be 12x again. And then on the outside, 4 times 4 is going to be 16. 9x squared plus 12x plus 12x plus 16. Combine these like terms, 9x squared plus 24x equal plus 16. That's all we have to do for those type of problems. Now we multiplied, we add, we subtracted. We're going to do the opposite. Now the opposite of multiplying, dividing, or multiplying, adding, and subtracting polynomials is factoring polynomials. So this is a test for some of you guys we retook, are the ones that we're going to factor. So let's factor some things. First, we're going to do a basic factor. Take out things that are common, or the greatest common factor. 3xy plus 12x. So we're going to take out the greatest common factor. So first, let's see if 3 and 12 have something in common. 3 and 12, well, let's see. 3 only has the factors of 3. And 12 has the factors of 4 and 3 and 2 and 2. So the only thing in common is 3. So I'm going to take a 3 on the outside of the parentheses. Let's see here. X, Y, X. They have one X in common. So I'm going to be taking out an X. They don't have any Y's in common. So I'm going to leave that there. So 3x is on the outside. What I'm going to do is divide it by what I just took to the outside, which is 3x. Well, this 3 and 3 cancels out, and this x and x cancels out. So all you're left with is y over here. Over here, you have 3x. So this 12 and this 3, 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4. And these two x's cancel out because they're exactly the same amount of x's. So it's just 4. So your final answer is 3x parentheses y plus 4 end parentheses. So that's a very basic greatest common factor factoring. What about x squared minus 9? These are special cases. Well, it's not, there's no greatest common factor here, but this is a special case because you can see this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square. So x squared is 9, or x times x, and negative 9 is 3 and negative 3. So I'm going to get x plus 3 and x minus 3. Because I took x and 3, so that's x plus 3, and I took x and negative 3 and made x minus 3. This should be straightforward. The only thing I'm worried about if you do forget, or you're a little forgetful on how to do it. Let's go with factoring with SOHCAHTOA. No, what is it? Not SOHCAHTOA. ABC. Factoring. So we're going to do, I'm just going to write this up here, ax squared plus bx plus c. So we need things that multiply to c and adds to b. Please don't forget that. Multiplies to c and adds to b. So let me find factors of negative 45. Well, I'm going to go to the short. I know the answer, so I'm just going to do it quickly. I'm going to put 5 and negative 9 and negative 5 and 9. Now I'm looking for negative 4. So if I'm looking for negative 4, I'm going to take this one, 5 and negative 9. Which means I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 5 and x minus 9. Do not worry about this x squared. He's already taken care of because x times x is x squared. He's already taken care of. You don't have to do anything with him on this type of question. Now, if it's just like this, that's it. That's your answer. Very straightforward. There are situations where we have a a in front, like 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. So we want to figure out the factors of this. So in order to do that, we have to slide and divide. So for this one, I'm going to slide a to 8 and rewrite this as x squared plus 2x minus 24. Okay, so now we're going to factor. Factors of negative 24 that add up to 2. Well, is it going to be 6 and negative 4 or negative 6 and 4? Is it going to be, well, we want positive 2, so the bigger number has to be positive, so it's going to be 6 and negative 4. So that's x minus 6, or x plus 6, x minus 4. Well, how am I going to take care of this? I am not done because you did the sliding over here. You have to do the dividing over here. So I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. So when I divide by 3, that's x plus 2. And over here, it's going to be 3. Oh, because this doesn't make up a clean fraction, I'm going to move it to 3x minus 4. Basically, make sure you're able to do that. Of course, we didn't talk about when you have zeros involved. Equals 0. So this is x, let's say x plus 3, and let's call this one 2x minus 5. So what you do is separate each 2. So we're going to separate each 2. So that is going to be 3 x plus 3 equals 0 and 2x minus 5 equals 0. This is a one-step problem. Minus 3, x equals negative 3. Over here is a two-step problem. Plus 5, 2x equals 5, divided by 2, x equals 5 over 2. I'm going to be leaving it as a fraction, to be very honest, on the multiple choice. So I just leave it as a fraction. Of course, I could do like the other ones, and I'm just going to do the same one like before. 4x minus 45 equals 0. From the previous question or the previous page, we know the answer, and I'm just going to go right to it, which is x minus 9, x plus 5 equals 0. You split it up once more. So x minus 9 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0, plus 9, minus 5, x equals 9, x equals negative 5. So this should be very familiar for many of you. We did do this pretty easily. Let's see. This one is a little bit more for, oh no, this is for both of you guys. So, did you both do graphing? Yeah, you both did graphing. We didn't test on graphing. Okay, so this is important. So this is x squared equals y. And let me describe what that is. It's this U shape over here, this parabola. We did a little bit this, if you're in the period 4 class, we did a little bit this, but then we had to do the retake. I'll remind you, because you will have 1 or 2 questions on this. So this is the original one always looks like. So if I drew one right next to it that looked a little bit like this, how would you describe it? Well, if you were me, you would say something, it went up, and it went to the right. So it went up and it went to the right. That's the description I would look for. This is more particular to my 10th period class. But if I said this is y equals x, how does that compare to y equals 2x squared plus 1? Well, before I'm not going to graph this out. You could graph it out and see. You could even use a website called Desmo to graph it out for you. But in order to do this, all you have to do is do plus 1. So this is plus 1. So I know it went up 1. And this 2, if the number gets bigger, the 2 gets bigger, the thing gets narrower, as in tinier or skinnier. So the word probably would be, it becomes more narrow. Narrow. So the difference between here to here is that this plus 1 tells you it moves up 1, and this tells you it gets narrower. Because the bigger the number, the more narrow it is. This is for my period 10 class. Period 10 class, guys, you need to pay attention to this one. Find the vertex of, let's use this one for example, negative 2 over 3, x squared plus 5. Really random example. Okay, so to find the vertex, you always use negative b over 2a. But notice something. Usually it's like this, ax squared plus bx plus c. Oh, I'm sorry, equals y. Don't forget that. So negative b, look at this. There's no just x. There's only x squared and there's only c. Because there's no x squared, or there's no just x, you automatically assume that it's negative 0 over 2 times 2 over 3. A is going to be negative 2 over 3. A is the front of the x squared. But trust me, you don't even care about that. Because 0's on top, it makes the whole thing 0. So your x for your vertex is 0. That's 0, comma. So let's plug in 0 here. Negative 2 over 3 to the 0 power squared plus 5. Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to turn into 0 plus 5. That means equals y. So that means 5 equals y. So your point here is 0, comma 5. Very straightforward. Just remember, what's very useful for this is that it is going to be just simply 5 equals y. Like, it's super easy when you don't have the b. So what if you did have a b? Let's just practice that. Negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 7. Okay, so now I actually have a b over here. And I'm going to use negative b over 2a again. So I'm going to give you negative 8, because this is 8, over 2 times negative 2. The reason I use negative 2 is a over here is negative 2. That is negative 8 over negative 4, which reduces to 8 over 4, which makes it into 2. 2 is our axis of symmetry, or our x. So if we have our x, we take the x and plug it into the original equation. Negative 2 times 2 squared plus 8 times 2 minus 7. Negative 2 times 2 squared is 4 plus 8 times 2 is 16 minus 7. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus 16 minus 7. Negative 8 plus 16 is going to be 8 minus 7. 8 minus 7 is going to be 1. So your answer for this one, and that's your y, so your answer is going to be 2, comma 1. All right, if you are an academic actually, before we do that, if we're period 4, let me just check something. Oh, okay. This is for both classes, both period 4 and period 10. Period 10, if you're watching this right now, if you're from period 10, I'm going to go back and do some completing the square and quadratic formula problems. But let me take care of this, which you both class had. So period 4 and period 10, what we're going to do is first ask if the question is bias / not bias. So I'm going to write this statement. Would you like the tasty chicken or the disgusting I don't know, vegetables? No, pizza. It's untrue. Pizza's delicious, by the way. Regardless. What makes this question bias? Well, there's a couple of things. First off, I say, would you like have the tasty chicken? So I'm saying something good about the chicken. Or would you have the disgusting pizza? So I'm saying something bad about the pizza. So in the question you have to ask, is the person asking the question wants you to choose something? Well, I think it's obvious that the person wants you to choose tasty chicken. They do not want you to choose disgusting pizza. So you could tell the question's biased, and it'll be kind of like a question. I'll give you like 4 statements, and then you tell me which one is not biased. So this one's obviously biased. A way to make it not biased would be, would you like chicken or pizza? That's not biased because there's no real reason you pick pizza over chicken. It's completely your own preference. There's no way that the guy who's asking you the question makes it seem like he wants you to choose one thing over the other. Okay. And that was let me just check. I think that was 10.1. Yeah, that was 10.1 back there. All right, 10.2, which is still both period 4 and period 4 and period 10, is finding the mean, the median, the mode, and the range. So I'm going to put some random numbers here. 3, 8, 2, 6, 2. Let me just check something. And, let's make this 4. Or maybe, yep. Let's make this 9. And let's make this 1. Okay. So mean, median, mode, and range. There are 4 different things you got to tell me about this data. First, let's talk about the mean. You might know it, and you probably know it as the average. Those are the same exact things. So for the average, you just take all your numbers and then add them up. So that's 1 plus 9 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2 divided by how many numbers are in total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. This becomes 10, 20. So that's 20 over 5. 20 divided by 5 equals 4. So your average for this one is 4. For this one, for median, we want the one in the middle. So let's take the one in the middle. So that's 1, comma 2, comma 2. Oh, first, before you get the one in the middle, you have to put your numbers in order. So I did that 1, 2, 2, 6, 9. It's okay if there's 2 2s. That is fine. So we're going to start from the outside going in. So 1 and 9. Okay, that's checked off. 2 and 6. Okay, that's checked off. Over here, it's just 2. Because it's just 2, that means your median is 2. Mode. So for mode, you want the one that happens the most common. So let's look back at the original data. So 2 and 2 happens twice. 6 only happens once. 9 only happens once. And 1 only happens once. So because of that, you know what should I say? Your mode is the one that happens the most often, and since 2 happens twice, it happens to also be 2. This is not always the same. I'm just saying that this occurred as much times. And then our last but not least, we're going to have the range. So for the range, we want to take the biggest number minus the smallest number. That is 9 minus 1. That equals 8. Range is basically telling me how far away is the biggest from the smallest. So I look at 9, that's the biggest number. I look at 1, that's the smallest number. And that's 9 minus 1, which equals 8. Okay. For my period 4 guys, this is the end of your review. Make sure you use it well. For my period 10 guys, I'm going to continue. I'm going to do some completing the square, some quadratic equation, the last thing we did on our latest test. And I'm going to go over what permutations and combinations are and do those. Okay. So for this should just be period 10 guys. Let's go with 9.4, I believe. I'm just flipping over to check. 9.1, 9.3, 9.4. Okay, so 9.4 using square roots. So this is pretty easy. This is like basic algebra. You're just trying to get your how should I say? Your x by itself. So this is 10. Let me just figure out. Let's make this 40. 60. Okay. So this is like a multi-step problem. You're just trying to get x by itself. So I'm going to do minus 10 minus 10. That is 2x squared equals 50. Divided by 2, divided by 2. X squared equals 25. Now, how do I get rid of the x squared? Well, I have to do the opposite of x squared, which is square root. So that cancels out the little 2 here. So x equals, now for the square root of 25, that's going to be either plus or minus 5. So x equals plus or minus 5. And remember, it's multiple choice, so you don't have to worry about remembering or forgetting the plus or minus. It'll be on the options. So that is a completing, or that's using square root. Let's complete the square. The square. with completing the square, we're going to have to, given a problem like this, let me just find one real quick. That's a good one. X squared minus 16x equals, let's call it 8. Negative 15. I'll trust that they did it right. So let's see what we can do. So first we're going to make a C on both sides. Remember, if you do a plus C here, you have to do a plus C over there. Then we're going to find what C is. In order to find what C is, it's going to be B over 2. So x squared minus 16x. And B is going to be the number in front of x. So that's 16. Oh, squared, my bad. B over 2 squared. 16 over 2 squared equals 8 over 2 squared. Or 8 over squared. 8 squared, which is 64. So I'm going to do plus 64 here. Negative 15 plus 64 over here. Now I have a shortcut. I want to factor this side. So in order to factor this side real quickly, all I have to do is use this 8 I found before and write as, I'm sorry, this is negative 8 because it was negative 16. So it's x minus 8. The reason is x minus 8 squared. The reason is x minus 8 because this was a negative 16. So negative 16, that means negative 8 squared. So before you squared it, it was negative 8. So I got to put negative 8 here. That's really important. Equals over here, 15, negative 15 plus 64 is going to be 49. Okay, we're not done yet, so I want to get rid of the square root. So we do it the one way we know, which is square rooting both sides. X minus 8 disappears because this disappears. Equals plus or minus 7 because the square root of 49 is 7. Now I'm going to do plus 8 on both sides. Let me draw all the way up here so we have more space. And it's a little bit more in camera. So that's going to be x equals plus or minus 7 plus 8. Now, I'll be very frank, this is not how your multiple choice answer is going to look like. We're pretty close to the finish, we're just not going to get it. So we're not there yet. So first we're going to do positive 7 plus 8. And we're going to do negative 7 plus 8. Because it's plus and negative. So 7 plus 8, that's going to be 15. And negative 7 plus 8, it's going to be a 1. So your two answers for this one is x equals 1, comma, x equals 15. So your final answer and your multiple choice option is going to say x equals 1, x equals 15. What else? Oh, we got to do one with the quadratic equation. So the square root. So to remember the quadratic equation, it's negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 ac all divided by 2a. So that's how we're going to get the quadratic equation. And for this problem, I could give you a lot of numbers. Let me just see if I can find one quick. That's nice and easy to work with. I want one with clean numbers. They didn't do that. Alright, I'll just use... what is the one I always go to? I think it's like 3x squared plus 4x minus 5? I don't remember. Oh, minus 2, maybe that's what it was. Let's see. So we're just going to plug it in everything here. Let me just identify. A equals 3, B equals 4, and C equals minus 2, so negative 2. So let's see how that works out. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 2 all over 2 times 3. This is me just plugging it in. Now let's solve it. Negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared is going to be 16. 4 times 3 times negative 2 is going to be negative 24. Oh, but it's minus negative 24, so it's going to be a plus 24. 24. All over 6. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root. 16 plus 24, that is 40. All over 6. Because this one's not clean, I cannot simplify it, so your final answer is going to look like that. Because it's not clean, it's going to be forced to look like that. So your multiple choice option will look like that. If it is clean, we could have kept going. But it's not clean, so we're not going to keep going. So we did that. What else is applicable to 10th period that is not applicable to 4th period? We did data. Oh, permutations and combinations and probability. So let's do, what was that, chapter 12 or chapter 11? 11.1. So 11.1. So let's see what we could do with 11.1. Let's find all the permutation. Oh, 11.1 is just probability. So, for example, out on a 52 card deck, and a 52 card deck which includes, hearts, kings, queens, spades, a normal deck, what's the chances of me picking the number 4? Okay? No, let's pick a different thing. What's the chances of me picking 10? So what's the chances of me picking 10? Well, let's see. How many 10 cards are there? Well, there's the 10 of spades, the 10 of diamonds, the 10 of hearts, and the 10 of clubs. So what we're going to do is put what we want on top, which is 4, or outcomes we want, over the total outcomes. How many cards are in this deck? Happens to be 52. So 4 over 52 is going to be reduced to 1 over 13. So that's 1 over 13. Your options when it comes to multiple choice will be the reduced version, not the full version. Another way I could ask a question, how many outcomes if you roll 3 dice and flip 2 coins? So for this, you just multiply the possible outcomes together. So for a dice, when you roll a dice, there's only 6 outcomes. So you do 6 times 6 times 6. And for 2 coins, you only have 2 outcomes. So times 2 times 2. Let's see. Let's do some math real quick. 12. So it's 6 times 144. 6 times 144. And remember, bring your calculator. You'll have your own calculator. 6 times 144 is going to be 6, 7, 800. 6. 4 is 24. Carry the 4. This is our carry the 2. 24. So 26. 4. 2, 6, 1, 4. So 864. So there's 864 outcomes. I didn't have a calculator, so it was a little harder for me, but you literally just type 6 times 6 times 6 times 2 times 2. Make sure you use your calculator. Make sure to bring a calculator. Or I'm just going to say straight up, you are in trouble, dude. Like, you're going to be, your gooses will be cooked. Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, permutations and combinations. How many permutations? So this is 11.2. And we're almost done, guys. We got 11.2 and 11.3 left. 11.2. How many permutations are in the word? Gotta think of a word that has no repeated letters. Dixon. I got that from the pencil. So, how many ways can I order Dixon? So, in order to do that, first we count how many letters that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 letters. And we're going to use this little exclamation point, a factorial. What that means is that you're going to do 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That means 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's going to be 2, 6, 24, 120. So 5 exclamation point is 120. That's if I just ask you like how many permutations are for like a word. Another one is this. Let's do 6 pick 4. So for this equation, and I made a mistake the first time I taught you, it's just going to be 6 exclamation point over 4 exclamation point. So this one's easier than what I taught you the first time. So that's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. All over 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 6 exclamation point makes this. 4 exclamation point makes this. Well, wait a second. 4 and 4, they match up, so we could cross those out. Wait a second. 3 and 3 matches, we could cross those out. Wait a second. 2 and 2 matches, and we could cross that out. Hold up. 1 and 1 even matches. So all you're left with is 6 times 5. So the answer for that one is 30. So this is a pretty basic one, the permutations, because there's really like, you line them up and you cross them out and you're just left with something easy. So it's pretty, this is a really easy permutation. The one that's a little harder is combination, because you have to do a little bit of looking at it. That's with the giant C. So combinations, we're going to evaluate combination. Let's see. Let's do the same one, 6 and 4, to see what the difference is. So we're going to use the same number, 6 and 4. So for the difference here is you're going to still have the first number be on top. You're also still going to have the second number be on bottom. But what you're going to have also is the difference between this. So like if there's 4 here, what do you have left over? Well, 6 minus 4 is going to be 2. So you're going to have 2 exclamation point also. So I got 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. All over. 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Times 2 times 1. And we're going to see if that works out. Well, 2 and 2 here crosses out. 3 and 3 crosses out. 4 and 4 crosses out. So just to rewrite, and 1 and 1 crosses out. So to rewrite this, it's going to be 6 times 5 over 2. And 2 times 1 is just 2. You could even cancel out more beforehand and do this as 1 and this as 3. And you would just get 3 times 5, which equals 15. Let's say you didn't see that happen, you still get the same answer, because 6 times 5 over 2 equals 30 over 2, which equals 15. Multiple ways you could do it. You still get the right answer. So the difference is, if it was permutations, you do not add the thing that the difference. If it's combination, you do add the little difference. with that in mind, I feel like I've done everything I could. Looking through all the problems right now on the final, I'm not seeing any questions that should be too surprising. All this is you're available to do. Let me just keep looking. Yep, everything I didn't gone over. So you should be more than able to do it. Alright? I hope this video helps anyone who's watching. I thank you for the likes. If you want to subscribe for more content, you always can smash that subscribe button. But joking aside, for anyone who's listening to this, thank you for listening. And make sure you have your questions ready for the final. Please, I don't want your questions during the final. I need them before so I can help you. Bring your calculator and have a wonderful night.